Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle Burney, health and life coach. And today on Uncovering Your Radiance Within, the topic is letting go. And with my clients, my one on one clients, with a course I teach, one of the first things that I recommend in my coaching program, my training recommended, when you're looking for growth in terms of your health, in terms of your life, one of the first steps towards moving forward with that growth is decluttering. And that could be decluttering your refrigerator, decluttering your cupboards, decluttering your closet, decluttering, your desk space, your emails, your photos, just kind of getting rid of what's not serving you, getting rid of what may not be helpful to you as you have new goals or when you're trying to work towards something new. So decluttering is one way of letting go and something I do recommend. I think it's a great time of year to, spring clean and to get rid of some of the things that maybe you haven't worn. It's great to donate things, to clear out the clutter. But I'm going to get a little deeper in letting go. And in my first couple of podcast videos, I talked about peeling off layers. And that was my first talk, was like peeling off layers to uncover what's really within you. And sometimes those layers are our voices and their beliefs and their doubts and their, these thoughts that we have. Um, I mentioned before the voice in your head, when you're set off to do hard things, you can do hard things, but you have this voice in your head telling you, no, you don't need to do that, or hey, no, you can eat this, or so there's always these challenges that we come across, and those are the things we need to learn to let go. Those voices of doubt, those voices of criticism, the beliefs that we have that aren't serving us, that aren't serving our growth, and aren't serving where we'd like to move forward to. And so much of these voices come from our domestication, come from our upbringing, come from our experiences. Some of them just kind of subconsciously form based on how we're raised. Like I said, experiences that may have happened to you from young. And this domestication is really our programming. And, so much of this programming happens when you're young. And you need to look at some of your programming as being outdated and not serving who you are now. So many of these thoughts and ideals that we have were created, mostly by others, by our family, our loving family who mean well, or from experiences that we went through. But you need to evaluate, are these thoughts, is this programming serving me? Do we need to upgrade our system, our programming system, to this new version of you, to expand your growth, to expand your health, your wellness, your mental wellness, all of those things. And we start to, believe so much of what those domesticated thoughts are, those, like I said, those values, ideas that we grew up with. And I just want you to think about what may not be serving you. What is something that you believe in or grew up believing in or were told to believe in that may not serve you right now. And just in acknowledging some of these beliefs, acknowledging is, becoming aware that you're carrying this outdated programming is the first step for sure. But these beliefs become like attachments. Like we become attached to certain beliefs. We become attached to ideas. We become attached to even material things. I'll share some examples. And like I said, become aware. I want to raise some awareness to some of these antiquated thinkings, antiquated beliefs, values that maybe you need to try to clear from your system before you can really move forward with health goals, with wellness goals. One big belief that I didn't even realize I had until I was going through something. I was, going through contemplating divorce quite a few years ago, contemplating divorce, and a big holdup for me. I knew I was not in a good place. I knew that it was not a great place for my kids. But I was hooked on this idea of the house. Like, I don't know if I can afford a house by myself. I don't know if I can afford this house by myself. I don't know, I want my kids in a house. And that was something I think, you could say it's a material item. It wasn't necessarily that particular house necessarily, but just that idea that I wanted my kids to have a house. I did not want my kids in an apartment. I wanted my kids to have a house. And I held on probably for longer than I should have in that marriage because I didn't think that I could afford to move out of the house or could afford to keep my kids in that same house. And so that was a big idea. And It took a really good friend at the time to really, ask me some questions like, do you really need that house? Why is a house so important to you? Why is it so important to your kids? Can't you take them to a park? Can't you take them to playgrounds? Can't you go places? Do they need to have this house? Do they need it right now? Is it something that you can work toward in a couple years? And she really took me through some serious questioning of this belief I didn't even realize that I had to have my kids in a house. And, I once I was able to get over that, like, okay, like we could rent, I can afford to rent for sure. And we can rent and we're really busy and we can go to parks and we can go, on little field trips. We can go to playgrounds. We can go all over. We can, go play places. That really allowed me to take steps forward to move forward with the divorce, which really worked out for all of us in the end. I can speak for myself, my kids, and, I think everyone involved, it kind of worked out for in the end. So that was a big thing. And I will say that the house idea came full circle a couple times through. We moved our kids. I did end up getting a house a few years later. And then we moved out of that house into another house. So a house was not anything that I ever became particularly attached to. Like I said, as the material object or even the ideal, because right now I don't have a house again. We sold our house last year in terms of providing some freedom for choices that we could make. We felt that the house was kind of restricting in terms of movement and mobility, that if we're connected and we didn't want any contingencies and to be dependent on selling. So we ended up selling our house and the market was good for all the interest rate hikes and everything. And I think that's been something that has given me freedom, is to not be so set on one house, not be so set on the idea that I need to own a house, I need to be a homeowner right now. In due time I may be a homeowner again. I will say that my house during COVID was such a blessing. Like I loved my last house. I loved it. It was huge. It was beautiful. Each of the kids had their own room, and truly, it was a blessing during COVID and something that I loved. I truly did, but I was okay with letting go. And I will drive by it because I actually live on the same street as my old house, and it's okay. Like I'm good with it. I don't have regrets. I was able to let it go, and it's all okay. Like because my memories, I still have the memories in my mind of the times with the kids and sitting around the dinner tables and Christmases and things. So I don't need to hold on to the house, and I don't even need to hold on to the idea of a house. Another major belief um, that is really hard for me to get past, to let go of, is what will other people think? Because those words were literally said to me numerous times growing up. What will other people think? What will other people think if you do X, Y, or Z? What will other people think if your boyfriend's car is in the driveway in the middle of the day and we're at work? Those things were said out loud. And I think that's been a hard one for me to break, because in the back of my mind, I think it's there. Like, what are other people thinking? What are other people thinking? Um, and as a teacher, I think I even think that more. Like I hold myself to a higher standard. What will other people think? I'm a teacher and my kids are doing this or not doing this, or I think that's a little bit more too. And I chose the path as a teacher. But back to the whole idea of what will other people think. I think it was really this book, The Four Agreements, and I love Don Miguel Ruiz. But there are a couple agreements in there that really kind of sounded off against that ideal of me always concerned about what other people will think. And one of them is don't take things personally. And this is a message I've really tried to share with my friends, as we talk about certain situations. And don't take things personally, because, where people are, how people react to you, how people respond to you is about where they are in their lives, in their growth. It's not about you. So people's reaction, even positive reactions, even negative reactions, how people react to you is not a reflection of you. It's a reflection on them. And so I really try to keep that in mind, not to take things personally. It doesn't matter what people think. I don't take it personally. And another one of the four agreements is don't make assumptions, that you can't possibly assume to know what people are thinking. You can't possibly assume to know that, people are judging you or thinking negatively of you, or or whatever that may be. So I think this book helped really to start my recognition of that belief as being a really limiting belief, and thinking about what will other people think, what will other, those words, like, literally in my mind. um, and actually, it's kind of a self-centered approach. It's really self-centered to think that other people have that much time to really care that much about what you're doing, or what cars are in your driveway, or any of that. So it really, I'm trying to lose that. And like I said, as a teacher, I still feel that like I'm held to a higher standard. But I think in getting to know yourself and love yourself, you have to get to that point where you don't need validation from someone else, that you don't need to know what other people think, good or bad, because you're good with what you're doing. And I do have a concern about, young people in this day of social media, and this constant need for validation and likes. And I just want people to really believe in what they're doing, to love yourself, and to not really worry about what other people think. And like I said, I'm trying to break free of that mentality, that ideal, that belief. That is definitely one that I'm learning to let go of, um, in owning my crazy. I know people probably think I'm crazy, or maybe I shouldn't assume people think I'm crazy. But anyways, but something I need to let go of personally. And in letting go, think of what kind of thoughts, beliefs do you need to let go of? I've used some examples in some other coaching forums, like, do you have the belief that you're not athletic? I'm not athletic. I could never do that. I can never go to the gym. I can never lift weights. I can never do that class. Those kind of limiting beliefs can hold you back from, being your healthiest version of you. Do you need to let go of the idea that you need a dessert every night? Do you need to let go of, what do you need to let go of to be a healthier version of you, to be a happier version of you? And it's kind of ironic. Today was kind of a special day at work for me. And sometimes we have to let go of good things too, um, in order to keep growing. And there, like, I've been mentioning things that just aren't serving you. Like, definitely learn to let go of things that don't serve you, don't serve your growth, don't serve your health and wellness. But we do need to let go sometimes of good things. One example is our own kids. We have to let them go, and we have to kind of have faith that things will be okay, that things will work out. Sometimes we have to let go of good people, wonderful people, people who, are really important to us. And I don't want to think of that as letting go, like letting go of your children, letting go of people. I think it's just a different connection, that it's not totally letting go, but that you're connected differently. And I can definitely say that with my own children, that there, three of them are out there in the world, and there is a different connection. But I'm so proud of the growth they're making in their own personal lives by letting them go and letting them, make their choices and letting them experience things. And like I said, I'm letting go of good people sometimes, but not totally letting go. It's just making a new connection. So, what are those things not serving you? What are those ideals, those beliefs that maybe, aren't serving you, that are just old programming that you need to get rid of? Because it's important, as we look on this a journey of growth and being healthier and a better version of you, that to let go of some of those thoughts and things that you just don't need in your world. So this week is going to be the last, on this topic of like personal growth and like life and more of the life coaching. The next 4 weeks are going to be more health oriented. So stay tuned next week for the first, that a topic that focuses more on health, and it's going to be on movement. So thank you for listening in. This is Michelle Burney with Uncovering Your Radiance Within. Until next time, take care of yourself.